Hi, Arnold, and hello to everyone on our Impact Teaching YouTube channel.
Hey
We're here
Josh.
today. Hey, Arnold. Hey, we're here today to talk about some interesting developments in China and our teaching placements in China. So, Arnold, what is this news? These kind of changes that have started to come in the past few weeks, few months.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are so passionate about China. We've both worked in China. We help many people move to China. The market is evolving all the time. Our general approach with helping people move to China is that we work with six, seven, eight kind of different partners where you can go to different places. So not every segment of the market's the same, but I think what we're talking about today will be about private schools, kind of, to be honest, like the best paying jobs that lead to sort of international school jobs and kind of that side of the market. I had a conversation with one of our main partners that offers that type of work recently. And the thing she told me is that they're really going more and more to 2 year contracts. So instead of kind of committing to an initial year to start with, it will be a 2 year contract.
Mhm. And just to clarify, are these opportunities, are they for new teachers or are they, because by the sound of it, international schools and these kind of establishments makes me think, oh, it must be for people with lots of experience. Is that the case or is it kind of for anyone?
It's basically the answer is it's for everyone. And the reason for it is that what's happening in the market in China is that before COVID, let's say, there were many more jobs than teachers. So it was a market when the teacher had a lot of freedom, a lot of choice, and basically a lot of power. Since COVID, there's been lots of changes. The changes include things like less funding for state school jobs, a slightly slowing economy, and some different rules for different types of education. So it's all become a little bit harder. And we're in the current situation where it's probably there's a similar amount of teachers and jobs, or even in some case, at some times, at some moments, more teachers than jobs. So in some way, what is led to is that um, the schools can be more picky.
Mm.
So what that means, and then another thing that happened at the same time was that a lot of the international schools have closed because there's fewer kids in some ways, like a demographically less birth. So
Mhm.
that segment of the market in China has struggled a little bit. So many international schools have closed, which meant that many international school teachers kind of came back on the market. So the dynamics all changed. But back to your question, why is this available to people who don't have experience? I think it's because there's a trade-off, and we speak about this all the time in our meetings, and I do this all the time when I speak to candidates. There's a bit of a trade-off between the value of experience, which is undeniable, and the
Mhm.
value of being someone with a ton of energy who's really relatable to young children and is just someone kids want to work with. So we have had over the years quite a few candidates who have gone into this kind of segment of the market right away. So especially one of the guys that comes to my mind is Jamie. He was someone who worked in the US at summer camp several years. He was really great with kids. He didn't have teaching experience and he didn't have experience with English literature. But when our partner agency in China talked to him, they just saw in him someone who was really energetic, really fun, and they basically saw lots of potential, unlimited potential in him. So they told him, look, we're going to help you, we're going to train you, we're going to give you guidance to move into a job where you're teaching English literature at a high school in China, at a private high school in China, and we believe you can do it.
Mhm.
And he did, and he was fantastic. And in his second year, they offered him a free PGCE and
Wow.
opportunities to grow on, better salary, more opportunities, leadership role in the third year. So yeah, that's kind of where they're coming from, that they see value in younger people with a ton of potential and a ton of energy, and that they can be as potentially as good at the job, as someone with more experience with the right training.
Right. No, that's great to know. It's applicable for graduates who have just finished their degree in whatever, and are going to China like I did, and for the more experienced teachers. But I must state, or you kind of expand, it's not every case, it's not every school, it's not all of our partners that are doing this, right? Just to kind of confirm and give a bit more info on that.
Exactly. No, absolutely. So, out of the seven partners that say we have, this applies to one of them, but it is the one that maybe offers the kind of the best money and the sort of the best opportunities to move into international schools. But yes, absolutely. We speak to plenty of people who say, look, this is I'm not sure, or it's more for me, it's more a great year of experience. I don't know if I want to go into teaching. In that case, we have other options for you. So it could be working at a training center, maybe working at a kindergarten, maybe working at a state school. So absolutely, if you're not, I think the main thing that we both, I think, believe and talk about regularly is like this has to be a really fun and good experience for you. And if you think I'm not quite sure if I want to do a 2 year contract, you probably shouldn't. So we can kind of tailor that. And one of the things that we do, and we do this for the Thailand program, you and I together, and we do this, I do it with Corey for China. If you join our program, before we allocate schools, we would have an hour-long Zoom call where we kind of lay out all the options, and the 2 year option would simply be one of them. So it's certainly not needed.
I see. And I think talking from my experience as someone who went to China, I think I was 21 or 22, I can imagine a 2 year contract would be quite daunting on some levels. As a younger person, when I came to Thailand, I was slightly older. I think it would have been a little bit less scary. But looking back with perspective on both of those experiences and having had slightly more life experience, I think it's a really great thing because you don't really get to know a place and really, I think no, so I'll retract that statement. You get to know a place in a year. I think that's fine. I think you can be comfortable with a place and yeah, feel settled quicker than a year. But for your school and the pace that the term flies by as a new teacher or even a more experienced teacher, those relationships you build with your students, they they kind of everything just happens so quickly. So for me, a year teaching does not feel like a whole year. I don't know if your experience was similar. It felt like 6 months. So I think to really get a taste for teaching in another country and really fulfilling your potential in the school, and then also I'd like to add within that city, within that town, I think it's a really great option. If you're someone who is maybe got a little bit more determination to kind of push through the hard times, because there are hard times, you
Absolutely.
know, some are smaller, some are bigger, but there are hard times when you teach abroad. If you've got a bit more determination, I think you actually get a lot more from a 2 years than a 1 year, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and this is also it's a great point, and it goes to the thinking of the schools as well, because like we're talking about, like this is ultimately a more competitive, higher end paying part of the Chinese teaching market. The reason they like this is similar to your point of for the person's experience, for the school as well. Basically, the agency kept coming back to me when we're speaking to the points of loyalty and continuity that in their mind the more sort of you're at a school, you know the systems, you know what they want, you basically probably become a lot more valuable to the school in year two than in year one ultimately. So they given that they kind of have the pick of the bunch, they want that in candidates. And also they stress to me in terms of your future um in this market, that is also quite important because let's say you work 2 years in this contract. You love China like a lot of our teachers do. You love the lifestyle, the income, everything. You want to stay. If you have done a 2 year contract, you're then also in a better position because this is the way schools think. Like if they see someone works at a school for 2 years, that looks a lot better for your next job than if it's 1 year. Because she was kind of telling me that the view of these kind of schools that are a little bit more picky is that if someone's worked 1 year and sort of in their mind maybe is kind of then trying to cash in quickly on getting a better job after 1 year, there is some skepticism of that with Chinese schools or in your next move. So yeah, this is kind of a little bit of background in kind of how they think and what they want. I just want to go back also to stressing this is something we offer, but from my perspective and my experience, the most important thing for you as a potential candidate is getting something you're comfortable with. I had a really interesting conversation yesterday with someone who one of our teachers who was really thinking about China, and we're getting this more and more, but he was really thinking about China as something he just visited recently, and he's thinking, I could really see myself there for 5, 10 years. I really want to go in with that intention. If that's you, and we can secure this kind of higher paying job for you, 100% that's probably the better choice. Because if you do 1 year at another type of school and then you change to the kind of private schools, you're kind of almost on the wrong track. So if you kind of have long-term plans in China, this could well be the correct way to start as well.
Fantastic. And where are these schools that we offer, that are partner with the 2-year contracts? Which cities are they in?
So yeah, so that's a great point. So they're basically in the pretty much all the big cities. Or so half of them are in tier one cities, half of them are in tier two and three. So tier one is kind of Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Guangzhou. So the really biggest ones. And then I was in a tier two city, what they call Wuhan. But it's like 10 million people. So they're all inevitably, because these are kind of the more internationally oriented parents and schools, they're in the bigger cities, all of them.
And I mean, from living in Shanghai, you could live in that city for 50 years and still find new places. Like, not just because of the size, but these cities are so fascinating. And like, you don't have to live in the same apartment in the same area for 2 years. It's the work you have to, the contract for work, which is 2 years. So I think there's so much to explore. Beijing, all of the tier one, and I'm sure tier two cities also. There's so much to kind of get your teeth into over two
Absolutely.
years.
Yeah, I go to Shanghai every summer and I see new places and constant change, and it's very, very exciting.
Yeah, no, it's a great place. It's a great opportunity. I think, like you said, it's not the only option. There are 6 other options. This is one option. But if you are someone who can see a future, a longer term future than just a year, it's not just a taster, it's kind of putting in roots a little bit more. If you're willing to do that, I think it's a really, really great choice. It's exciting. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so exciting. I think we've been helping people move to China for 20 years, and I think at this moment we have a really wide spectrum of choices. This is just one of them, but yeah, if you're interested, we'd love to discuss it with you.
Fantastic. Yeah. So thanks for that, Arnold. I feel like I've learned a lot more about this as well. And yeah, everyone, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. And yeah, we'll put out more content. We try to do as many of these as we can, but it's sometimes difficult to find the time. But I hope it's useful. Any questions, leave them down in the comments. We'll put Arnold's email in there too if you want to reach out to him. So thank you.
Great. So thank you, Josh, and hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.
See you soon. Bye bye.